Hello and welcome to Tar Heel Teachers at Home. I'm Marlo Artis, moderator of the program and proud principal of Craven Early College High School in New Bern. Tar Heel Teachers at Home is an interview series focused on engaging North Carolinians in conversations around education. Each week, I'm happily joined by a wonderful panel of educators, each one representing a particular subsection of education. We'll start our introductions with our elementary school co-host.
Hi, and good evening. My name is Nardi Roughton. I am a fourth grade teacher at Creekside Elementary School in New Bern. This is my 5th year in Craven County and my 26th year teaching. I am Craven County's 2023 Teacher of the Year and the 2024 Boroughs Welcome Fund Southeast Region Teacher of the Year. You can follow me or find me on Twitter at nroughton.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Natalia Mejia. I'm the NCAP 2023 Empower North Carolina Beginning Teacher of the Year. I teach English to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ML students at C.C. Griffin STEM Middle School.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tanya Smith. I'm a vocal music educator at Elkin High School and Elkin Middle School and Elkin City Schools. I'm the 2020 Boroughs Welcome Fund Piedmont Triad Region Teacher of the Year. You can find me on Twitter at tsmithecs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arisha Smalls. I'm the AIG Program Coordinator for Cumberland County Schools, and you can follow me on Twitter at Smalls Arisha.
Awesome. For this special episode of Tar Heel Teachers at Home, we are speaking with Dr. Karen Roseboro, Superintendent of Tyrrell County Schools. Dr. Roseboro has served as Superintendent of Tyrrell County Schools since October of 2022. Dr. Roseboro, welcome to Tar Heel Teachers at Home.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you on the program. Dr. Roseboro, can you start? How would you describe Tyrrell County Schools to individuals who haven't had an opportunity to visit your school system?
Well, Tyrrell County is very unique. It is a small rural community, very diverse. It is a third African American, third Hispanic, and a third Caucasian, and 10% other. And one of the reasons why I selected to apply to be the superintendent of Tyrrell County was, one, because of its unique size. There's only 3 schools in the area, as well as the diversity. It's rare that we find schools with those type of demographics right now due to geographical location or urban centers in our state, and people generally choose to live isolated in larger urban settings, whereas in the rural part of the state, especially in the eastern part of the state, you see more diversity and demographics kind of working and living in the same spaces, occupying the same spaces. And so by being close to the beach as well, I'm 5 years near retirement, and I was like, this will be a good opportunity to go back to the eastern part of the state and serve. And most importantly, one of the things that I think is very unique about Tyrrell County is its collective responsibility to serving their children here in this community.
Very tight-knit community, a lot of pride in the community, and we know that you all have been able to do a lot of great work together. So, Dr. Roseboro, give us an overview of your career. You've been at Tyrrell with Tyrrell County Schools as superintendent for a year and a half now, but kind of give us an overview of how you got to this point in your career.
Okay, well, I started out as a lateral entry teacher. Back then it was lateral entry. Now we're calling them resident teachers. And I became a special education teacher. I taught behaviorally, emotionally disabled students. I called them my at promise students. Even back then, I was referring to them as at promise and just misunderstood students. Then I went on to become one of the first inclusion teachers in Winston-Salem for Safe County Schools. So I served students that had dual disabilities and abilities. So I had students that had AIG labels as well as exceptionalities. So those students were served in dual capacities, which was kind of interesting. And I did that at the middle school level and went on to teach high school because originally my background was history education, and I wanted to teach history desperately, but at that time, a lot of the history jobs went to coaches. And I was able to secure a position in Winston-Salem at Parkland High School as a history teacher before my administrators came to me and saw the potential in my leadership style, and that I was taking on positions within the school that a lot of teachers would not step up to do, but I believe in leading from where you are. So at that time, when I became a principal and went through the program, I was the youngest assistant principal named to the assistant principalship in the state of North Carolina at that time of appointment. I believe I was 26 or 27 at that time. And then I became the youngest principal, in addition to another young lady that was the principal, named principal on the same day I was in Wilmington, North Carolina. And so, like I said, I mean, my career has just been a whirlwind. I've just had really great educators in my life that really kind of sewed into me and poured into me and truly encouraged me. So I tell people now the finished product that everyone sees today is the product of many educators that touched my life. I only had one educator that I can think of that was not impactful, but made an impression on me. It was a negative one, but it's one that I take with me throughout my career. And just to tell you a funny story is that same teacher had to ask me for a job.
Mm.
And I had her in the second grade. And I always tell my teachers, you never know who you are going to be sitting across from or who will have to hand you a drink of water. And that's why it's important to treat all children with respect and dignity and make sure that they know they have value in this world. And that was the only experience I have that was not impactful. But I will tell you, and I tell all educators, what you see before you when they see me is the product of a village. That I know that's cliche, but for me and the journey and my family, my mother will tell you that the teachers helped her to raise me when I was in Winston-Salem and traveling back and forth between Winston-Salem and Anson County.
Wow. And then you also, after serving as a school leader, also was able to move to central office and be an area superintendent and the chief of choice and magnet schools, and now serving as the superintendent of Tyrrell County Schools, a position that you've held since October 2022. What questions do we have for Dr. Roseboro?
Dr. Roseboro, I have questions planned, but when I was listening to you tell your story, there's just something I have to know that I just found it so interesting. In my work as a gifted coordinator, one of my favorite things to do is bust the myths around, what gifted students look like and who gifted programming is for. And just hearing you talk about working with students with twice exceptionalities, what misconceptions did you encounter or would you like to address having kids that were both EC and AIG?
Well, for one, I think sometimes people assume that our academically gifted students don't have areas in which they need to grow in. And for me as a teacher, I noticed that quite a bit in terms of like their social and emotional abilities and being able to adapt and build relationships in a positive way with other students because they were in a self-contained academically gifted class from elementary going into middle school. So to be on an inclusion team where it was made up of students with disabilities and our academically gifted students, both groups were able to thrive because they were in the mix with people that thought differently from them or went about their work in a different way. So I saw tremendous growth. We actually had the highest growth and also the highest proficiency levels on our team when I was teaching in an inclusion setting. And I think it's due to the fact that we had that type of diversity on our team. And as you know, most of the times our academically gifted students We had more Caucasian students than we did students of color at that time. So, and then we were top heavy and disproportionate on our students of color being labeled EC in terms of learning disabilities. So for us, it gave us an opportunity to make sure we could showcase both groups, but also show that these students are able to achieve more when you have that belief system that all students can achieve. They just have to go about learning material in various ways. And I think that that's the power of differentiation, that we were truly the experts in differentiation as a team.
So next year, we are going to be entering our rewrite year for the AIG local plans across the state. And I know you've only been in your role for a year and a half, but are there any initiatives that you're excited to see concerning gifted education in your district?
So right now we have a very small population of gifted students, but I truly believe that they're unidentified. So we're going to be doing a nurturing program for our students where they're going to be able to take some math and English classes with our AIG specialists during the school day, but in an inclusive setting. So they're still not going to be pulled out. She's actually going to be pushing in to some of the classes, and we're going to make sure that those students have that access to accelerated material so that we can continue to nurture and grow our students. Because I truly believe that all students are gifted in some form or fashion. It's just that we don't always put emphasis on their gifts. And, you know, I talked about my son earlier. If the measure of academically gifted students is often going to be based upon a test that they have to take versus what their knowledge base or world views are and how much they know from a practical standpoint, to me, that is often also means being gifted, because often we see students in other classes know things from a practical lens, a worldview lens, a cultural lens, who know things about curriculum that other students do not know because they have yet to be exposed to those things. So I would like to see us be more inclusive about what we classify as gifted education.
Well, I haven't taken a look at your local plan for your district, but it sounds like you're a proponent for multiple pathways to identification. And so maybe that's something that can be a new initiative in your next plan. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. And that's a great idea. Thank you for planting that seed.
I'm going to jump in. So I was reading and I was listening to you. I think it was 20, you've been in education 20 plus years, and go from teacher, from elementary to middle to high school, and then all the administrative positions. So what drew you to the district level, wanting to be a district leader? And what advice would you give to other aspiring district leaders?
Well, Miss Routen, that's a loaded question. You know, I have stories for days, but I just want you to know how other people can truly make a difference in people's lives. I mean, you know, you don't know what you can do until sometimes someone else sees the potential in you. And, you know, Bev Emery was my superintendent at that time. And I will tell you, my dream was to be a principal. That was my dream. I didn't see anything past being a principal. And I was a good principal. I know some people want to be modest about it. I'm not modest about that. I'm not going to be humble about it. I was a great principal. Not a good one. I was a great one. And I loved what I did. And I loved my school. The school that I was in, North Hills Elementary, was on the low performing schools list. At that time, we were on Judge Manning's list. And I love a challenge. I love for people to tell me what I can't do. And I was able to go into North Hills, and with my team of Golden Girls, excuse me, but that was what we called them, because they were an army of retired teachers that we had hired back into the profession, and they were fantastic reading teachers. And I'm not a traditionally trained elementary person. I'm a secondary person. But when I tell you that when I was an assistant principal at Cash Elementary with strong teachers, and then I went over to North Hills Elementary with very, very strong reading teachers, math teachers who taught me everything I know about curriculum and instruction came from that group of teachers. And I was able to take some of the things that they were teaching me, be able to get buy-in from my younger staff members on how to mobilize and move this school. We were able to do it in 1 year. And I know people say it takes 3 to 5 years in school turnaround, but I truly believe that the people make the greatest difference in school turnaround work. That's all I know. I'm just going to put that out there. And so no matter what changes DPI came up with, no matter if they changed the standards on us, it didn't matter. You couldn't break the cord at North Hills Elementary School because we had a formula. I had to orient staff at the beginning of the school year and after the Christmas break because everybody couldn't take that level of work. They could not take that high level of accountability. But what was constant was I had a guiding coalition called the Golden Girls. And it did not matter who came and went out of the door. The Golden Girls were going to be there to train them up. And we had a set curriculum and they would train whoever was coming in on the curriculum. So Bev Emery looked at our data as our new superintendent at that time, because we transitioned from Don Martin, 20 plus year superintendent. And here comes Bev Emery. And she said, well, I looked at Dr. Roseboro's data and it shows me that no matter what change comes, because at that time I was probably there for about 6 years and I didn't intend to stay there that long, but I wanted to be a mother. So I had to stay put. She said, no matter what comes along, her data, she just keeps on plugging along. The school continues to meet growth. We dipped 1 year from exceed to meet, and we maintain our proficiency levels. And she said, whatever she's doing over there, that must be the secret, you know? And so when she came to me and she asked me if I had thought about coming to the central office, I told her I'm living the dream. I'm at North Hills. I have a great staff. I love my community and I want to stay put. And she said, well, Karen, I really need you to start thinking about how you can be of service to the district and to other schools who may need this type of help because we have a large number of low performing schools. I said, well, okay. I interviewed for 4 jobs at the central office. I was a finalist every time. And when I asked her, I said, well, Dr. Emery, you said you needed me at central office, but I haven't been selected for anything. What's going on? And she said, oh, I think we're going to have a surprise for you. We're still working on it because you have different gifts and talents. And we see how we can utilize your gifts best, but we've got to make sure the job is the best fit for you. To make a long story short, I went over to the central office as the priority schools coordinator working with priority and focus schools. I was a team of 1. And Title I didn't know what to do with me. And the executive team didn't know what to do with me because I was out there doing my own thing, doing what I do, working with my colleagues, getting their buy-in. Because imagine your colleague may now potentially be your supervisor, but we didn't know what I was going to do or be. Within 6 months, I was named as the superintendent for school turnaround, still a party of 1. And so in the central office, what was very difficult for me was learning how to politic in the central office, that you cannot do your job at central office if you do not have other people standing beside you and with you to get what needs to be done for kids. So I had to build that guiding coalition like I had at North Hills. And I just went around to every office and I found an ally in accountability and testing. I made sure that the Title I team felt the same stressors that I felt. So they became the informal department for school turnaround, but didn't know it. I just, and then I had informal leaders at all 23 of my schools. So teachers became the army, the boots on the ground for this so-called department of turnaround that we did not have in reality. And they helped me to brand the Inspire 340 network, which is the 340 is the LEA code for Winston-Salem Forsyth. And within those 2 years, we knocked 23 schools down to only 8 schools being still in low performing school status before others started to pop up. By that time, I was tired. So that's how that happened. I did not apply willingly and to go to the central office. It took a little prompting to get me there. And once I got there, I had to learn how to navigate those waters very quickly. And also, making sure my colleagues respected me now as their supervisor, but they also knew that I was going to do what was in their best interest and the best interest of the children. So for others, I know you asked me about for others, what I would advise.
Yes, what advice?
Well, it takes special people to work in central office. And so I would say on the outside looking in, you might think you're going to do all these different things if you were over at the central office, but understanding the politics of the central office is very important. We all would like to think we're just going to go to our little corner or our offices and our program, and we don't have to interface with all of that and just serve our schools. It's just like the presidency. When we turn over a president, it's going to be a new cabinet. And that is what we have to get in our minds. And realistically, if schools don't have teachers and their teachers are in the central office, then you better bet your bottom dollar. You're going back into a school. So you always have got to keep your teaching skills up to par. So my favorite quote that I tell even my teachers sitting in the seat of the superintendency, I still teach. So you don't hold me hostage, because at the end of the day, what I love to do, I can still do it. Because I work alongside of teachers. I'm not a top-down person, and I'm an unconventional superintendent from what my teachers tell me. They're like, I've never had anybody walk in and, and start teaching or working with me, because I like to show you what I mean if I'm coaching you. And I told them it's no disrespect to them. I'm just a modeling type of person.
Well, thank you. You truly are an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I had stuff planned I was going to ask you, but I'm just going to tell you right now, listening to you makes me believe I'm good.
You are good.
Oh my goodness. You are so bright and light, and you define be the light. I mean, you really, really do. And I love how you are talking so much about your teachers. Not only are you saying I was a great principal, but every word that's come out of your mouth has been something positive about a staff person. I'm blessed to work for 2 former students, which that resonates with me. Because you said you never know who is going to have to serve you a glass of water. You better treat everybody good. I had them when they were little, so and they're really good to me. So apparently I did something right. But I'm going to use your words if you don't mind. I took a photo of this because I love you. The thing that you wrote on your district website where you said, "Our collective commitment to student success," I love this, "is crucial as we embark on this academic year. The new theme of TCS, Rising Up to Student Excellence, emphasizes our determination to overcome challenges and work together to ensure the best outcomes for every student." Your words, love that. And your graduation rate it's just gone up. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that you put into place and how you pulled your teachers together on board as your golden girls moment in this new situation that you think played a role in that, because that's impressive. All of your words are very impressive.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will tell you, here in Tyrrell, again, there were already teacher leaders here in Tyrrell. from what I had heard and read in my comprehensive needs assessment from the state. So there were a lot of teachers doing a lot of work. I wouldn't say it was behind the scenes. I think everybody knew who those teacher leaders were. So I learned very quickly that if I was to engage with them versus putting them in a box as you're the teachers and this is the central office, I found out that the teachers had never been to my central office. They had never had meetings at the central office. There was never any type of professional development at the central office. So I started having meetings. I started with the early college, high school teachers first, because I knew that they were the informal leaders of the district. And I knew we would have a quick win with such a small class of seniors. I think last year we had it might have been like 44 or 54 kids last year, my first year here. And I said, well, every child should be leaving with a plan. We should know where they are going. Every child has the ability to leave with the associate's degree because the entire high school is an early college. But again, I learned very quickly, not all students and their families had the roadmap for access to the accelerated opportunities or how to engage the community college to get on the associate science track to get the associate's degree. They really didn't understand how that worked. So we were graduating 16-year-olds that were not quite ready for the workforce or may not have entered the associate's degree pathway. So I had the community college come in, sit with our families to develop a goal setting plan and talk to them about college and career promise. And I had to ask the community college to allow us to access not just the early college courses and pathways, but we also need for our CTE students to get on a completer pathway, not just stack credentials, but be completers and then move into the college career promise pathway to make sure that the family's dream of the child going into ag science was a reality and that they would be ready to take that assessment for John Deere and go to work or provide them with knowledge about the North Carolina Cooperative Extension. We are the Eastern site for NC State and the 4-H Center, but the only time my students had been to the 4-H Center was for prom.
Wow.
And they're right here in Tyrrell County. They didn't even realize that there were internship opportunities for ag science and had never visited NC State nor North Carolina A&T. But we had employees that looked like them working for the North Carolina Cooperative Extension. So once we educated the families, I call it the family mentorship model. Everybody talks about the students needing mentoring. Families need mentoring. Families need the information. So we talked about with my teachers collectively, when we went through school, how do we remember the registration process? And everybody said that they remember having the course catalog where their credits and everything was clearly outlined. And you would take that home and look it over with your parents, and you would decide what pathway you wanted to be on. Well, here in Tyrrell County, that was not the process for the students. So that is why we had to have some educational sessions with the families so that they know that there were other options outside of the associate's degree pathway through the early college, that we also have a pathway for college and career promise. We have CTE pathway, and we have our work. I don't call it the OCS pathway. I call it the traditional high school student or the workforce development pathway is what we call it. What is it that you want to do? And we sit down with that family and we map out the plan for every child. And then they know what they're going to be doing once they graduate. We were able last year, even though I was only here a year, and we had the North Carolina DPI CARES team here, we were able to meet with each student, but several of my students got certificates as translators. Some of them got their CNAs, and they are Some of them got their certificates for ag science to help run the tractors and things at some of the farms, because you have to be certified in those things now. And the kids and their families did not know that. We also wrote a grant called the Blue Economy. We exposed our students to careers all on the water, just really trying to show them that you are rich beyond what you may think or what's in front of you. Let me tell you what's really in front of you. Mm. And I had also spoke life into my kids. I told them they're some of the smartest kids I've ever met. And I mean that to my being. I come from Winston-Salem, but you put a Winston-Salem kid, I told them if I put my own son out there at the Coastal Studies Institute and told him to get in the water and dissect the fish, he could not do it. Well, I have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that can do that and will do it with no problem because they've been exposed. They live STEM every day down here, which is, to me, it's just unbelievable. Some of the things I see that they do that other students in the state have to read about, but they get to just go out there and do it at the 4-H Center or Coastal Studies and make it a reality. So I think for me, speaking life to them and being from a different area and telling them all about all these experiences that they do have available to them, I have had adventures down here, things I had never experienced. And they've been able to share that with me. The livestock show that we just had a couple of weeks ago, unbelievable. The sport, just the showmanship and the pride of taking a baby goat and then bringing it up for sale. And then I have a kid that is an auctioneer already. Wow. Unbelievable. He comes from a long line of auctioneers. And I mean, I can't even express it in words. Some of the things I've seen in this part of the state already, being here in Tyrrell County. But that is what made the difference for the graduation rate, was mentoring an entire family on the process and teaching them about weighted GPAs and quality points and credits and what are some options for their children before they leave high school. And then we had Elizabeth City State University come. They did a clinic for my students and talked to them about the College Promise program. They can go to college for $500 or for free. So when my students learn, I can go to BCC for free, which is my community college partner. I can go to Elizabeth City State, possibly for free or $500, just depends on your family. And I can get a scholarship through the Rural Education Institute at East Carolina. And I can make money while I'm in high school as we call them the EduCorps program, but it's an AmeriCorps program where they can be tutors for my middle school. Just finding out what programs are available, telling the families what the plans should be, and calling, because like I said, my graduation class is small enough, I can do that. Calling them, keeping them engaged, and asking them if they follow up on some things made the difference last year for us to get to the 96%. We had a high graduation rate already at 90, but the question no one was asking, what are they graduating with? And see, when I interviewed, that was one of my questions. I said, I see this high graduation rate, and I see that we have a lot of CTE credentials, but are the children completers? When they finish Health Sciences 1 and 2, are they getting their CNA license and then going on that college and career pathway to be a nurse in the program at BCCC? And then ECU has another program where they can just fly and slide on into there. And I'm going to tell you this, when I was in college at East Carolina, I thought I was going to be a nursing major. I called my mother crying. She said, what's wrong? I said, everybody in my class that's from down here already have CNAs. How am I supposed to get into the nursing school if the kids that grew up in the eastern part of the state already have a CNA license? And they're promised jobs when they leave if they serve in the Northeast. And I'm gonna tell you, the Northeast is the best kept secret in North Carolina. The kids are coming out ready for the workforce because we have nothing to rely on but each other and our educational systems down here. And that's why Leandro is so important. That is why they need that money, because the resources in housing, food insecurity, it's a true thing. And they need all the services that they can get from the people who believe in the Northeast. And the people that are going to be here, they have to have those type of jobs to be able to have a thriving community. And it's so important. Now I know why they accelerate their kids, because it's needed. The sad thing is the kids don't want to stay in the Northeast. They want to go to Raleigh so badly, or they want to go to Virginia. So I'm working hard on showing them, guys, please sow back into your community. Your community needs you. So that's why we got the 96. I know it's a long answer, Ms. Smith, but I'm passionate about that 96.
You're a quadruple P. You are passionate with possibilities, a plan, and you give them a purpose. And all four of those things, that's what I hear in your voice. And that's what our kids need. That's what our kids need across the state. And that's amazing. And I just thank you for your answer, because it explains a lot to me. And I'm in a rural community in a tiny city school system as well, not as small as yours. You win, but you win. But I think that all of the things you're saying about Leandro and funding that, everything you're saying is so real and so true, and you believe in it. And we need voices like yours. And I just thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share.
Hi, Dr. Roseboro. How are you?
I'm good.
So, listening to you, it is so obvious that you are a dynamic team player and you really, really lean into the strengths of your community and your team, which is so admirable. And it's, I think, a skill that a leader truly has. And one of the initiatives that I was reading about that you have is finding advanced teacher roles for high-flying teachers. And you call it a teacher academy. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that looks like? Because in the EdNC article, it compared it to the state's advanced teaching roles program. And so I'd love to hear from you what that looks like for your teachers.
Well, that's been a journey too, because in Winston-Salem, before we applied for the Advanced Teaching Roles Grant, we had a teacher leader academy that we had partnered with NCAT with. And we just took an informal group of teacher leaders and we trained them up on how to work best with adults, how to coach, and also how to lead from the classroom. And we paid them additional stipends to be able to help support other teachers in their buildings without the multi-classroom leader title or the expanded impact title that we have with the advanced teaching roles model. We then wrote a grant in Winston-Salem for the advanced teaching roles. And I was one of the highest awardees at the time. I wrote that grant for Winston-Salem for SITE. When I came to Tyrrell County, we get low WEF dollars, small county dollars, and then they get the additional compensation supplement as an equalizer to help them with their supplements to compete against the surrounding counties that are able to offer the higher supplements. And when I found that out, and of course, I had some additional COVID money. My CFO thought I was crazy. I said, I'm giving this money to the teachers. And she said, what do you mean? You just can't give the money to the teachers. Now, wait a minute. We've got to vote on the additional compensation supplement first. She took me through the series of steps. And I said, okay, so when can I give the teacher leaders the $10,000? Because I'm going to need tutors. I said, I've got to get them off the low performing school list. This is ridiculous that Tyrrell County Schools is on the low performing schools list. And I said, when it's a matter, it's not about teacher quality. We had a leadership deficit. We had folks in roles that were not ready to be in those type of roles, or the leaders had not evolved since COVID in terms of how do we recover in a strategic way, so to speak. And then there had been a lot of turnover in our district, from the superintendency. So there were a lot of different factors, I feel, that contributed to that. The informal teacher leaders that I was telling you about at the high school, I have never seen the type of quality teachers I have in my elementary school. We're talking about straight lines in their writing and everything in terms of teaching, training, and prep. I told ECU, you just need to have a field experience day in Tyrrell County so that people can see what these classrooms look like. So they were already structured, everything well organized. I'm just telling you, just a model school for teachers to learn and train in is Tyrrell Elementary. So I wanted to be sure that they were going to be compensated in terms of when we got ready to do our high dosage tutoring, because we had to get our district out of improvement. So no one wanted to tutor. When I went to them just to ask about tutoring, they did not want to tutor one. They all travel about 40, 45 minutes to an hour to get into the district. So imagine if we already start school at 7:30 and you're ending at 3:30, you are dead tired. And to go to 4:30 was asking a lot. So I started looking at data, trying to pull past data on some of the teachers. And the way that I got them there was I advertised teacher leadership in the district to be an extension of the central office and to come into the central office building and help me to plan out a plan for us to remove the district from low performing. Well, they got a response out of that a positive response. And I also had learn how you can earn more on the flyer. So when they came in, I told the teachers, if you tutor for us, we are willing to give you up to $5,000 each for the high dosage tutoring. Now, money does not get you school improvement. It has to be will and skill.
Mm-hmm.
But the $5,000 was nice, right? That just kind of let them know that I value you enough to say, I need you to come in, but I'm going to pay you. I'm not going to pay you that $30, $40 an hour rate. And I'm going to pay you this flat fee for doing this for us. Now, if your group of students that you have, if they increase proficiency and meet growth, I'm going to give you another $5,000. And everybody was like, okay, all right. Well, when will we get that? We're going to get that in October. But initially, you're going to get your 5,000 once you do the high dosage tutoring, and we stay the course, and we're going to have a standard curriculum. And we planned out how tutoring was going to go collectively. So it was not a tutoring plan that central office put together, and then we told the teachers to go forth. We put this plan together so that we would have the commitment, and we had our standard curriculum on how we were going to use our curriculum resources, and we were going to have plans and that type of thing. We did all of that. And as a result of our teacher leaders becoming, I call them extended impact tutors. They were extension of classroom. So they did have not expanded impact. They were called extended impact tutors. And that's what we call them. And they went in and they were able to kind of lead and direct. We also have a data collaborator teacher who was responsible for collecting our data and reporting to the board about our data. And we also had 2 instructional facilitators that just so happened fell into that multi-classroom leader type of mode, because we had lost a 5th grade teacher, and so they tag teamed that. And as a result of that teacher leader academy, and we had AIG coordinators, we don't have a coordinator. We had to assign one of our teachers that leadership responsibility, and we had to assign another teacher the pre-K coordinator role, because we're a tiny district, but we needed people in all of those spots. And as a result of that, I truly believe that that's how we were removed so quickly off of the list, because we took our best and brightest teachers to come together as part of the plan for the turnaround work. And at Tyrrell Elementary, you may have saw that every student group grew proficiency-wise, and we exceeded growth expectations. And that's how we were able to be removed as a result of the teacher leader work. And so I told Superintendent Truitt, I want to apply for the Advanced Teaching Roles grant, but for me, I don't have a grant writer. So it would take a lot of time for me to sit down and write such a grant when I don't understand. If I could just prove to you that I have all these Advanced Teaching Roles teachers, I should be able to apply for those dollars, be able to get those dollars to expand on our program. So that's our Teacher Leader Academy. And this summer, they're going to NCAT, like we did in Winston, and they're going to be bonding, and it'll be Tyrrell, Hyde, Washington County, and Hertford. We're all bringing together our informal teacher leaders and forming our own academy.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about your leadership and the way that you identify strong leaders in your school community. It's absolutely awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Roseboro, we could just talk to you all night because I have so many great things happening in Tyrrell County schools under your leadership, because we do know that leadership does matter. And there are a lot of strong components in place, but it takes the right superintendent to pull everybody together under that unifying mission and vision, and being able to execute that plan in an excellent fashion. Dr. Roseboro, as we wrap up, where do you see? I don't think you're going to retire in 5 years. I'm telling you right now, I don't think that's going to happen. But where do you see Tyrrell County schools in 5 years?
Oh, I think Tyrrell County Schools is going to be a household name. I truly believe, like some of my other friends that have led small districts, that we will be a household name, and everybody's going to say, remember what they did down in Tyrrell, and I hope that people will be reading about their work, about their collective responsibility that they had, and the passion that they had to turn things around, to say, I am not that label that they tried to put on our school district, that we are truly the shining star that we thought that we were of the Northeast.
Absolutely. Y'all are already shining so brightly, and we'll be watching as you all continue to shine. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And you all have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
We'd like to also thank our audience so very much for watching our program. We hope that you'll engage us on our social media platforms. Please like our Facebook page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow us on Twitter at Tar Heel Teachers. Please visit our website, tarheelteachers.com. And on all of our social media platforms, please use our hashtag Tar Heel Teachers so we can find all of your great comments. I'd like to thank our wonderful group of co-hosts for joining us for this special conversation: Nardi Roughton, Natalia Mejia, Tanya Smith, and Arisha Smalls. And once again, we'd like to thank our special guest for joining us, Dr. Karen Roseboro, the Superintendent of Tyrrell County Schools. We look forward to seeing you next time on Tar Heel Teachers at Home.